Monday, 5:45 a.m. I'm checking 3 OR schedules before I get out of bed. Marcus Chen. SynTera Orthopedics, Dallas-Fort Worth. I carry 2 joint replacement systems and a bone cement line. The Pinnacle Total Knee System, the Apex Total Hip, and SynSem. My territory covers Methodist Dallas, Texas Health Presbyterian Plano, and Baylor Scott and White in Grapevine. Today's schedule: Dr. Kaufman has 2 primary knees at Methodist starting at 7:30. Dr. Osai has a revision hip at Presbyterian at 9. Dr. Martinez has a trauma case femoral neck fracture at Baylor add-on probably noon. I need to be in 3 places. I can make 2 of them. This is not a job where I sit in a waiting room. I'm in the OR, gloved, in a lead apron if there's fluoroscopy, watching the procedure, handing instrument trays to the scrub tech, confirming which poly insert size before the tibial component goes in. In pharma, the rep delivers a message. In orthopedics, the rep is part of the procedure. Agentforce shows me consignment inventory levels at each account overnight. Dr. Kaufman's room is stocked. Dr. Osai's revision case needs a size 60 acetabular shell I may not have in his tray. I'm calling the SPD manager at 6. That's the job before the job even starts. The orthopedic territory rep as or participant. Unlike pharmaceutical representatives who communicate product information through office or hospital calls, orthopedic device representatives are present in the operating room during procedures involving their products. This or presence, called case support, is not incidental. Surgeons rely on the rep to confirm implant availability, assist with instrument tray setup, communicate size selection in real time, and troubleshoot intraoperative issues. A surgeon performing a total knee arthroplasty, TKA, with an unfamiliar instrument configuration, an unexpected bone morphology, or a sizing decision that requires a non-standard component may turn to the rep for real-time guidance. This role requires product mastery, sterile technique awareness, and the procedural fluency to anticipate what a surgeon needs before they ask. The multi-account or schedule managing simultaneous case coverage. An orthopedic rep's morning begins with the or schedule, the day's surgical cases across all accounts in their territory. Surgeons operate in early morning blocks. Cases start at 7:30 a.m. and run through midday. A rep covering 3 hospitals may have concurrent cases, 2 primary knees at one hospital, a revision hip at another, and a trauma add-on at a third, with no capacity to cover all simultaneously. Case prioritization, revision cases over primary, add-ons requiring inventory verification over scheduled cases with confirmed trays, is a daily operational decision. Agentforce case scheduling integration allows territory reps to view the full or schedule across accounts, identify conflicts, and coordinate distributor or colleague coverage for lower priority concurrent cases. Primary vs. revision arthroplasty, commercial and clinical significance. Primary total joint replacement, first-time surgery in a native joint, is the high-volume commercial core of a joint replacement portfolio. Revision surgery, removing and replacing a previously implanted prosthesis, is lower volume but significantly more complex, requiring extended instrument sets, augments, stems, and components not used in primary cases. Revision cases demand higher rep involvement, longer or time, and deeper product knowledge. Commercially, revision cases drive incremental revenue from extended component sets. Clinically, they test the rep's technical depth. A rep who can support complex revision cases, including unexpected intraoperative decisions, earns durable surgeon loyalty that primary cases alone cannot generate. SPD Sterile Processing Department as a key account relationship. The Sterile Processing Department, the hospital function responsible for cleaning, sterilizing, and returning surgical instrument trays, is a critical operational relationship for orthopedic reps. Consignment trays must be checked in and out of SPD. Sterilization turnaround time affects case readiness, and tray availability depends on SPD staff prioritizing the rep sets among dozens of competing surgical specialty trays. A rep who invests in the SPD relationship, training staff on tray organization, responding quickly to damaged instruments, ensuring trays arrive clean, has a meaningful operational advantage over a rep who ignores SPD until a case is at risk. Agentforce or schedule and inventory integration. Agentforce integrates case scheduling data, where available through hospital EMR or management systems, with territory inventory records to give the orthopedic rep a pre-case intelligence view. What cases are scheduled today? Which accounts have confirmed tray availability? Which cases have potential inventory gaps that require same-morning intervention? This integration addresses the core operational challenge of the orthopedic rep's morning, identifying which cases need active intervention before they reach the OR, and which are ready to proceed without rep-side action. My products don't go through FDA approval the way a drug does. The regulatory framework is completely different, and understanding it is part of my job. Chen. SynTera Orthopedics. Drugs go through the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. Devices go through the Center for Devices and Radiological Health, CDRH. CDRH classifies every medical device into 3 classes. Class I, general controls, tongue depressors, bandages. Class Roman II, special controls most devices. Class Roman III, the highest risk, life-sustaining, life-supporting, or novel implants. The Pinnacle knee system and the Apex hip are Class Roman III implants, but they didn't go through pre-market approval PMA. They went through 510K pre-market notification. 510K doesn't require the company to prove the device is safe and effective from scratch. It requires the company to show substantial equivalence to a predicate, a legally marketed device that was cleared before 1976 or previously 510K cleared. Substantial equivalence. Same intended use, same or different technology, but not raising new safety concerns. That's how most orthopedic implants reach the market. PMA is the high bar, reserved for truly novel Class Roman III devices where no predicate exists. PMA requires clinical trial data. 510K typically does not. SynTera, our bone cement, is Class Roman II. 510K cleared against established PMMA cement systems. Agentforce regulatory fields flag clearance pathway and predicate citation for every product in the portfolio. FDA CDRH, the regulatory authority for medical devices. The Center for Devices and Radiological Health is the FDA division responsible for pre-market review, clearance, and approval of medical devices. Unlike CDR drugs and CBER biologics, CDRH operates under the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act as amended by the Medical Device Amendments of 1976 and subsequent legislation. CDRH regulates approximately 190,000 device types across 1,700 classification categories. For field representatives, the relevant regulatory authority is always CDRH, not the drug divisions and the vocabulary of device regulation. Clearance vs approval, 510K, vs PMA, predicate, is distinct from pharmaceutical regulation. Device classification, Class I, Roman II, and Roman III. FDA classifies medical devices into 3 risk-based classes that determine the regulatory pathway. Class I, low risk, subject only to general controls, registration, labeling, GMP. Examples include surgical gloves, tongue depressors. Class Roman II, moderate risk, subject to general controls plus special controls, performance standards. Post-market surveillance requirements. Examples include infusion pumps, powered wheelchairs. Class Roman III, high risk, life-sustaining or life-supporting devices or devices presenting unreasonable risk of illness or injury. Examples include pacemakers, heart valves, implantable orthopedic components. The classification determines the clearance/approval pathway. Class I typically exempt. Class Roman II typically 510K. Class Roman III typically PMA, though 510K is available for class Roman III devices with predicates, as in most orthopedic implants. 510K per market notification substantial equivalence. The 510K pathway allows a device manufacturer to bring a device to market by demonstrating substantial equivalence to a legally marketed predicate device, one that was marketed before May 28, 1976, or one that has been 510K cleared since then. Substantial equivalence requires 1. Same intended use as the predicate, and 2. Same technological characteristics, or different technological characteristics that do not raise new questions of safety/effectiveness, and the device is at least as safe and effective as the predicate. 510K does not generally require clinical trial data for orthopedic implants, bench testing, biocompatibility data, ISO 10993, and fatigue/wear simulation data typically suffice. The standard review time is 90 days. Most orthopedic implants, joint replacements, fracture fixation devices reach the U.S. market through 510K, despite being classified as Class Roman III devices. PMA, per-market approval for novel Class Roman III devices. Per-market approval is required when a device is Class Roman III and has no legally marketed predicate. It is the highest standard of device regulatory review, comparable in burden to an NDA. PMA requires valid scientific evidence, typically clinical trials under an IDE, demonstrating that the device is safe and effective for its intended use. PMA approval comes with post-approval study pass requirements, manufacturing inspection, and ongoing annual reporting. Examples of PMA devices include cochlear implants, ventricular assist devices, active implantable cardiac devices, pacemakers, ICD, and certain novel Class Roman III orthopedic devices. A device rep selling a PMA-approved device can reference the approved clinical data in promotional contexts. 510K cleared devices technically have no approved clinical evidence, only a demonstration of substantial equivalence to a predicate. Regulatory vocabulary in device promotion: cleared vs approved. The distinction between 510K clearance and PMA approval is commercially and legally significant in device promotion. A 510K cleared device is cleared. It has been reviewed and found substantially equivalent. It is not approved. Promotional materials and verbal representative claims for 510K cleared devices must use the correct terminology: FDA cleared, not FDA approved. Using approved for a 510K device is a regulatory misrepresentation. A PMA device is FDA approved. This distinction matters to hospital purchasing committees, formulary reviewers, and clinicians who understand regulatory pathways. And getting it wrong in front of a knowledgeable audience signals poor regulatory fluency. No drug gets prescribed because a pharmacist wants it. No device gets implanted because a hospital administrator prefers it. Device adoption starts with one surgeon who decides to try something. Chen. SynTera Orthopedics. Dr. Priya Agarwal was my first pinnacle convert at Methodist, board-certified, fellowship-trained in adult reconstruction. She was implanting a competitor system, had been for 6 years. That's not a casual relationship to interrupt. What changed? A cadaveric lab. SynTera hosted a hands-on dissection course at UT Southwestern. 6 surgeons, one afternoon, our full Pinnacle instrument system. She trialed our tibial resection guide and said it was more reproducible than what she was using. 2 weeks later, she asked for case. A straightforward primary knee. I had the tray. I was in the room. She used the Pinnacle system. The procedure went well. She's done 42 Pinnacle cases since then. The surgeon champion is the first mover, the clinical validator who converts before institutional forces have weighed in. They reduce the social risk for every surgeon who comes after, and they are essential before a hospital VAC will even consider reviewing a new system. Without Dr. Agarwal saying, "This system works," my conversation with the Methodist VAC chair doesn't start. Agentforce tracks surgeon-level adoption curves, first case date, case frequency, volume trajectory, so I can identify who's converting and who's stalled. The surgeon champion as the first commercial lever in device adoption. Medical device adoption in a hospital or health system typically follows a pattern where a single early adopter surgeon initiates use of a new system before institutional processes have formalized support. This surgeon, the champion, takes the personal and procedural risk of switching from a familiar system to an unfamiliar one, based on clinical judgment and direct experience with the device. The champion's role is commercially critical because they 1. Validate the clinical value of the system in real procedures at that institution. 2. Reduce the perceived risk for other surgeons who observe or hear about the champion's experience. 3. Provide the clinical endorsement necessary to move the device through hospital value analysis committee review. And 4. Often serve as a local KOL whose influence extends beyond their own practice. Cadaveric laboratory and hands-on training as the conversion trigger. In orthopedics, the decision to switch implant systems is not made by reading a clinical paper or attending a lecture. It is made by holding the instrument, executing the technique, and forming a personal judgment about the system's ease of use and reproducibility. Cadaveric anatomy labs and surgical skills workshops provide surgeons with a low-stakes environment to evaluate a new system's instrumentation, understand its workflow differences from their current system, and develop preliminary confidence in the technique before committing to a live case. Device companies invest significantly in these educational events, within AdvaMed code compliance parameters, because the conversion ROI of a single cadaveric evaluation that produces a convinced surgeon champion is high relative to other commercial investments. The UT Southwestern Anatomy Lab in this example is a realistic venue. Academic medical center anatomy facilities frequently host industry-sponsored surgical education events. The first case as the commercial pivot point. The first live surgical case with a new implant system is the highest stakes commercial interaction in an orthopedic rep's relationship with a converting surgeon. The rep must ensure tray availability is confirmed, consignment stocked in advance. Instrumentation is complete and sterile. The rep is in the room for the full procedure. Any intraoperative questions are answered immediately, and the surgeon departs with a positive technical impression. A first case that goes poorly, instrument missing, wrong poly insert size, sterile processing error, can terminate the conversion before it begins. Reps who manage first case preparation meticulously, sometimes arriving at the hospital the evening before to verify inventory, earn the surgeon's trust and protect the commercial opportunity. Social proof and the cascade from champion to colleagues. Once a surgeon champion has performed multiple successful cases with a new system, their collegial influence on peers becomes a commercial multiplier. Fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeons operate in professional communities where peer opinion matters. A respected colleague's endorsement of an instrument system carries more weight than promotional claims from a sales representative. The champion may informally discuss their experience at tumor boards, grand rounds, or hallway conversations, may present outcomes data at regional meetings, or may formally proctor colleagues transitioning to the new system. Each case the champion performs increases the social evidence base that reduces conversion risk for subsequent surgeons. The commercial rep's role shifts from active selling to facilitating the champion's visibility, ensuring they have outcomes data, presentation support, and opportunities to speak to peers. Agentforce surgeon adoption tracking, from first case to high-volume prescriber. Tracking a surgeon's adoption curve from initial trial to consistent high-volume use requires a longitudinal data view that spans months or years. Agentforce surgeon profiles log, first case date and procedure type, case frequency trend, monthly case volume, product mix, which SynTera components are being used, any cases supported by competitor systems at the same hospital, split use pattern, and TSV or clinical education interactions that preceded or followed conversion. An adoption curve that plateaus at low volume after an initial trial. A surgeon who tried 2 pinnacle cases and returned to their prior system. Flags a conversion that failed, prompting diagnostic investigation. Was it a tray availability issue, an instrument concern, a pricing conversation that went wrong, or institutional formulary pressure?